beautiful
silk screen.
Yes. By Clem Millwood.
Yes. And a lot of people say he used to lecture them at Hornsby TAFE. He was an art teacher, a wonderful artist. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but that is a beautiful.
It is a beautiful. Now, silk screen. I didn't talk about the different types of prints. We've got intaglio, which is your etchings, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the relief, which is woodcuts. This is more planographic. So this is where the matrix doesn't change. It's just sits on top.
So he screens the colour through a few times.
So several times. And it's just magnificent because every time there's a colour change, printing in pretty much, it's got that paper has to stay in exactly the same spot. Think of registration.
I remember that at school.
Yes.
I remember doing it at school.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it won't matter if it just goes on.
Yeah, no, it's just beautiful. And it's just, and the artist is thinking of layers.
Yeah.
The layers of colour.
I love that.
Which is so clever.
We have to keep moving faster.
Yes, we do.
No,
Sorry.
well, I'm going to talk about these because you'll skip them. These are my favourite liner cuts of Melissa's.
They're actually wood engravings.
Oh, are they?
Sorry. Yes.
Oh, are they wood engravings?
Yes.
I've been telling everyone they're liner cuts. Okay, wood engravings. But these are this is her astrology series. So if you're a Sagittarius or a which one's this one, Melissa? Gemini, and Hamburger is
That's Aries.
Aries.
Oh, sorry, Taurus. Sorry.
Why is because it's got
Taurus
beef in it.
is beef.
Beef. So they're really clever. They're the cutest etchings, and I know I've given my son. I gave his Sagittarius. I gave him that one. He loves it. It's hanging in his house. This is an indigenous. So I've got some indigenous and non-indigenous works here. I love this fellow, Andrew Margalulu.
So that's carved.
So this is up in the north, and it's done on really fine paper apparently.
Yes.
And then sitting on here. There's a name for that, but I don't know what it is.
There is a name and I can't remember it.
So would that be
lino
lino
cut probably? The artist has carved everything that's white. The artist has carved out, so he's done and then it's like drawing with a knife.
One of my favourite pieces. I've had that here for a long time and I've sold it many times. This one here is Helicopter Joe, who is from the Kimberley, very well known. He got the nickname Helicopter because as an Aboriginal child living up there, he had some sort of accident and they needed to get him to hospital, and the only way to get him to hospital was in a helicopter, and he adopted the name stuck. And he's an older man now, probably in his, I'd say he's probably in his 80s, and he was married to Lucia Kambari, who is my very favourite Indigenous artist, and she's got a piece in the other room. But we shall move on. These ones here are the etchings. These are Max Miller, who died recently, very well known. He was painted with John Olsen and was a very good friend of John Olsen's. And I think these are beautiful.
So all etchings, if you don't know what an etching is, it's you have a metal plate and you run a ball over like a bitumen and you scratch through that. So it's really lovely for people who like to draw.
I think it's very hard.
There's so many processes, and then you put in acid and it eats away, and then the ink goes in the little grooves.
I think it's a boy thing, the etchings, because I didn't realise until I was printing up the floor sheet that the majority of artists in this exhibition are male, which is unusual because I tend to exhibit a lot of female artists.
I think it's process oriented.
Yeah, this is what I mean. They like the process.
So many different things can go wrong.
No. Okay, this is Frank Hodgkinson. He's no longer alive, but a very well-known Australian artist. That's Cockatoo Island, one of my favourite etchings. Etchings, yes.
Yeah.
And Gary Sheed or Shed? How do we pronounce his surname?
Don't know.
Again, his paintings, he's one of Australia's very well-known painters, and he did a lovely series of etchings, and I have a few here. Very, again, I've had these here before, and they sell very well. They sort of warrant the fancy frame, I think. This little one here is a Jimmy Pike. Jimmy Pike is another Indigenous artist who is no longer with us, but I absolutely love this piece. It is only a print, which is why I think the whole thing is $175, which is very, very good, well priced for a piece of art like that on the wall. But it is a copy
and it's a limited edition copy of his original etching. So this one here is Pinch Gut. Mellissa, is
I
that
can only assume it's an etching, but it could be a dry point. I can't. A dry point is where the ink scratch into the surface and the ink catches into the bird.
Oh, okay.
Which gives it a lovely sort of fuzzy sort of look.
But
Lovely
is
black.
it called dry point etching or just dry point?
But it could be dry. It's dry point, but I couldn't say for sure. Forgive me if it is an etching, but it could be a dry point. I'm just looking
So
at.
we all know our local artist Greg Hansel. He has had doubles in printmaking as well. And this one, is that an etching?
And aquatint as well. Yeah.
And what does that mean, aquatint?
Aquatint is like you shaped like a rosin on there, and it just brings up. You've got lovely tone, and you can scrape away and make it white again. So every time there's a surface that the ink will catch into, it will print in tones. And the whiter areas, you can either whiten or ink away, or it's the smoothness of the plate.
It's a beautiful piece. I have two. I can't remember. I must have sold the other one. This one's quite cute. I like the name. It's called Prawn Cocktail. It's just a little cutie by Nikki Grant. And of course the Norman Lindsay's. These, I do know, they're called facsimile etchings. So all the original Norman Lindsay etchings sold out many years ago. And if you wanted to buy one now, they'd be in the 40, maybe, $10,000 upwards for each one, maybe more, maybe quite, some of them are very expensive. But the family were allowed to reproduce his etchings, and they were allowed to reproduce 550 of each one, and they're called facsimile etchings. So they're not actually the etching; they're a copy, but they have an imprint in the paper here. And I know for a fact, because I picked up a art fraud class when I was at university, and I remember that insignia is really important because it has dots in certain places, and there's the distance between each dot can tell whether or not it's a fake, because to do a facsimile etching really is easy if you've got a good photocopy. But you must have this insignia here.
I heard once, I don't know if it's entirely true, but I heard his wife Rose used to actually print the etchings for him. He used to draw them and do the artwork, but she did the hard work.
How are we going for time? Are we still on track? Okay. So again, Mellissa has a lot of
Lino
framed lino cups, and these
Wood engraving.
wood engravings. And if you honestly, if you have the time, have a look at these, because you engrave into wood the same as you would with lino.
Well, it's like in the metal engraving tools, like you would do a metal engraving. And this would be, I think that one's either maple. It's
I think
American
you've got
maple.
one of these too.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. I just think they remind me of Neil Fraser's work. He's one of the best printmakers in the world.
Yes.
He's really, really good. They're beautiful. More of the Melissas. This another Norman Lindsay. This little one is Michelle Hebel. She etches. If you have a close look, these are etched into clayboard. So is she etching.
So she's
in black
actually
clayboard.
So she's actually doing the process of etching, which is scratching into the clayboard with the stylus.
Each one is individual, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah, they're one.
So I mean,
it's
again, this is a one-off.
So just a different medium.
Yeah, so that's it's clayboard, and it's inked. It turns out black first, and she scrapes away to bring the light. It's like
They're just
drawing with
beautiful.
light.
The end of last year, I had 4 or 5. I think I have 5 of them now. Just the only one I've got now. They're just so nice. Yeah. We've spoken about these. They're copies of paintings. David Bromley is very well known. He's a Melbourne artist. He's been very popular for years and years. His nude series are probably the most well known, but he also does birds and butterflies. He loves the nature. This little one here, I'm going to butt in, Mellissa, because this little one, I can't tell you how many times I've sold it. I must have sold more in this edition than anyone else. I love it. It's called I Truly Love You Gypsy, and it's a tiny little etching which is just very appealing, and it's by an artist
Greg Hyde, and I think he is based down in the Southern Highlands somewhere, and he's getting on in years as well. Melissa, tell us about these. These are Kevin Foley in Victoria.
Beautiful. And this blue here, see that's done in the process of printing. It's not hand coloured afterwards. It's actually inked at the same time the black is inked. Really beautifully done.
So he's very, very careful. I know I visited his farm in Victoria, and he's a lovely man, and he does a lot of dogs because he has dogs on the farm, and I know he holds classes. He actually wrote to me and said he'd be here tonight if it wasn't for a class, a workshop he's running. But I think he's a retired school teacher, and he just spends all his time printmaking.
Yeah.
And this is another one of Greg's. That's an etching, isn't it?
Yes, it's an etching. I'm not sure if that, I think that could be coloured afterwards. I'm not entirely
And Greg Hyde always has really lovely names for his etchings, and this one's called Missing the Train of Thought.
Yes.
Melissa, you have good names for your etchings too. I like yours, they're very witty and funny. What a Vida Pearson, liner cuts.
Magnificent. And she is so beautiful with her hand colouring afterwards. It's like they're a joy to see the watercolours.
And they're
all
always
beautiful.
exactly the same. So
Yeah.
Can you imagine how hard that is? One of the few artists that sells out of all her editions. She does 50 of everything. When they're gone, bang, that's it, no more. And she doesn't muck around with artist proofs either. I think she said something to me once about, she said, people that just collect artist proofs are a little bit strange, I find. It's easy not to have them. So she gets through them very quickly, but she paints, like, when people buy one or order one, they want the colour they see. And she told me she keeps a record of exactly how she mixes up the colour each time, so they're always the same.
Didn't you say that she's not doing any more prints because she's just concentrating on printing out what she has in stock at the moment?
Oh, she's got no stock. She has to do prints.
Has she?
Yes.
So
she told me she's madly trying to.
Okay,
to
so
catch. She's got no
a year or
stock
two
left.
ago she wasn't doing any new
Well,
ones.
she might have thought that because she had plenty, but everyone sold very well during COVID, and she told me she's battling to keep up with keeping new things coming. So she must be printing.
Okay.
Very quickly, this one I think is a silk screen, and that's another one of Helicopter's, very a well-known piece that he does. And just trying to, that one's got a lovely name. It's called This Place, My
So
Country.
this is silk screen. Imagine the sheer physicality of bringing that in,
I know.
bringing it in. It's like
That's a
the
very
size of it's fantastic.
No, just sitting around. And the last one here, above Melissa's beautiful little wood engraving, is Paddy Bedford. Paddy Bedford used to paint with Rhoda Thomas, so he's been gone a while now, but there's not too many of these left, and I'd forgotten I had it. I found it in a drawer, and I am absolutely surprised at what price they are at some of the galleries now. There's very few of them left. So, thank you everyone. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And I hope that you've enjoyed the artwork and learnt a little bit. There you go.
Thank you. Say people who have died or things like